power of your fashion sense when it comes to your overall confidence is simply not talked about enough. So allow me to educate you. Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Anna. Welcome to Anna is Random. And the clue is in the name, really, with my channel. Like, we talk about all sorts of stuff over here. Self-confidence, fashion, mental health advice. And I also vlog some things that I do. Like, I have a fun event that I'm going to at the end of the month. So you want to make sure to stick around for that. And we just overall have like a really positive vibe over here. So if that sounds like something that is right up your street, then make sure to subscribe, because I would love to have you as part of my community. As the title suggests, today's video we're going to be talking all about how to dress better, how to find your personal style, and more importantly, how to sort of break up with fast fashion and find a newfound love for thrifting and secondhand, and how that is going to transform not just your personal style but also your confidence. And this is really something I want to make into a series, because personal style and being creative and individual is something that I am so incredibly passionate about, and I want to talk more about how to evolve your personal style and how kind of subcultures can play into that. But of course, as I mentioned, today's video we're going to be talking about fast fashion and consumerism, and more importantly why you should not be feeding into that, and how that is making you like a robot and just boring and actually preying on your potentially low self-esteem. And that is not what we're about over here. We are about confidence, we are about taking up space, and I'm actually filming this on International Women's Day, so really this is a perfect time to be talking about all this. I have a lot to talk about today. The notes for this video go miles long, so that's how you know it's a top ass quality video, and you're gonna want to stick around for this, because I can guarantee you're gonna learn something and you're gonna step away from this video feeling more empowered. So this video is going to be broken down basically into 3 parts. So the first part is going to be talking about the high street and how that's changed over the past even like 10 years, and how society's become more sort of beige and grey and lost all its colour and its creativity, which I'm sure is something that we've all observed over the past few years. And we're also going to be talking about the greenwashing that is happening with the big brands that you might have heard of, and also how kind of trend culture and social media has killed people's creativity and individualism, and also your confidence to be your most authentic self. The second part of this video, I'm going to be basically telling my personal story when it comes to fashion and my personal style, starting from when I was really young to where I am now, and how I'm still evolving, because I am still evolving with my style, and I've talked about this in previous videos, but you know, this is a journey, and it can take a while to feel like you're really settled, but that is the fun of it, you know. And this is a lot of the reason why I do love fashion as well. It's just how fun it is, and it should be fun as well, because it brings out a lot of our feminine energy, which is something else we talk a lot about on this channel. And the last part of this video, I'm basically going to be giving you all my secrets of my favourite places to shop, my favourite brands, and how you can start your journey of finding your personal style, and also breaking up with trying to please the societal standards of how women should dress, which will massively help you in leveling up your confidence. So let's get right into this. So we've all noticed it, okay? Fast fashion has taken over, and in my opinion it's created 2 types of people. The first being sort of beige, white, grey, clean girl aesthetic, boss bitch CEO, all the hustle culture type people think they're it because they're running a business, obsessed with like clean eating and Pilates, and always wearing kind of like beige wide leg trousers and like a white blouse. We all know somebody like that, okay? And the other type of person is the social media addicted, Shein haul loving, trend following girl. The person who's always like, oh, I love Temu, like Temu is so great, I love the stuff I get on there, and like, oh my god, the TikTok Shein hauls, you've got to watch them. I watch them all day, they're so fun. I love Shein, I love how trendy it is, and I can't wait for like my next big Shein haul that I'm gonna do. Oh my god, I love it. Like, we know what one of those people, like, I doubt whether we know one of each, but like, we know one that falls into either one of those categories, right? And I'm sure that if you're on this channel, if you're on this video, then you know how bad those are, especially when it comes to the Shein and the Temu side of things, okay? Not only the environmental impact that they have, but also like child labor. And like, this isn't a new thing. Like, we've known about kind of the impact of these big China-owned brands for the past like, what, 7-8 years now? But because of things like TikTok, it's become even worse. And not just when it comes to the online shops, but also on the high street as well. Again, going back to like the clean girl aesthetic type people, if you go to the high street now, there are not kind of unique styles. Like, we keep seeing the same kind of styles and colours churned out year after year. I don't know if any other country is different, but especially in the UK, it just seems like nothing's changing. And this kind of goes back to what I was saying about like how people just don't want to be creative with how they dress anymore. And really, in my eyes, that's really sad to see. Speaking of the high street, I mean, of course we all know how bad companies like Shein are, but I don't think people realise how bad H&M is. I'm gonna put up a mind map, if I can find it, of just all the brands that H&M own. Like, H&M is basically like the mob boss of the high street, and this is where we get into kind of the greenwashing that I wanted to talk about, because I'm sure we all noticed that a few years ago they started to introduce things like their recycling bins in stores, as well as their sustainable ranges, which will include a certain percentage of recycled material in their garments, right? So at surface level, it's thinking, oh, they're really being like environmentally conscious. However, this is all a lie. As somebody who donated quite a lot to the recycling bins when I was in university, I was shocked to find out that the recycling bins, the stuff that was going in there, straight to landfill. It was literally blatant greenwashing. So heartbreaking, right? And also so infuriating. And another point I want to bring up, and I vaguely mentioned this at the beginning of the video, I think, everyone started to sort of dress the same, which again goes into my whole no one wants to be creative anymore point. But I'm sure we can all picture, like, for instance, if you go on a night out, me even saying that, I'm sure there's people who have got images of girls in their heads looking the exact same. Like, there's almost a uniform now when it comes to night out attire, and we can also guess where they all got it from. Like, I don't even necessarily have to say it. We can all imagine it immediately in our heads, right? And as I was making the notes for this video and I'm trying to sort of plan it all out, there was another conversation that came up in my head about how this has also affected beauty standards and dating. And of course there's a whole other conversation about dressing for the male versus the female gaze. And of course we should all be dressing for ourselves and the female gaze, not for male validation, ladies. And also how this has affected people potentially choosing the wrong type of guys. Like, there's a whole, like, once you start to think about this on a really deep level, like the knock-on effects on society that this has all had, like for those who think that the fashion industry and the way we dress doesn't have that much effect, like, y'all really need to do some deep thinking. But of course the other thing that this all creates is basically making us slaves to consumerism and the downsides of capitalism, as well as I've mentioned, killing people's hunger for being creative and being individual, which keeps people smaller and quieter and robots of hustle culture. So how do we change that? Well, this video is gonna teach you how. So what has my story and journey been with fashion? I would love to tell you. What introduced me to the world of fashion and all this fun stuff was the Bratz franchise in the early 2000s. Well, it was more kind of the mid 2000s because I was born in 2000, so I was only really able to perceive things from about the age of like 7. So I'm saying from kind of the mid to late 2000s. And that franchise had me in a chokehold. For some reason I especially loved not only kind of the Y2K style, but also the fact that they specifically went shopping for every scenario. And I'm sure that if we are familiar with the lore and, you know, the canon of Bratz, I'm sure we're aware of what I'm talking about there and just how much shopping was included in the TV show and of course the dolls and the movies. And I still, like, I want to make a whole video, and I'm sure there's others out there as well, about the impact that that brats had on young girls at the time. And truly, I credit that franchise for my confidence as a young child, but also what sparked my love for being creative with the way I dress. And because of that found love for fashion, I wanted to be a fashion designer for quite a few years. However, when I hit high school and had to go on a sewing machine for the first time and absolutely hated it, that whole dream was binned immediately. And with that went my love and passion for fashion. At least it started to decline a bit. However, I still cared about the way that I dressed and wanting to look good. However, being in school, I didn't have that extensive of a wardrobe. Like, the only time I obviously wasn't wearing my school uniform was in the school holidays and on Sundays. Because I'm Christian and I've been raised Christian, so kind of the whole idea of Sunday best was incorporated a lot into my childhood. And it's something that I still uphold to this day, which I'm actually really grateful for, because that's kind of what kept my little spark for fashion alive. However, as a kid, my wardrobe was mostly controlled by my mother, although I did have some kind of agency over what I was buying. What I really wanted to wear was kind of off limits until I was a teenager, and then started to have kind of more agency over what I was wearing. However, unfortunately, this hit in the hellhole that was the 2010s, which I'm sure we all don't need a reminder of just how bad that was for fashion. And this is coming from somebody who now loves the 80s. However, the 2010s, as we all know, took kind of the worst parts of 80s fashion and somehow made them worse. So me and my little fashion brain was really struggling to find things that fit my aesthetic, even though I didn't really have an aesthetic at that time, because that word just kind of wasn't even a thing until about, like, what, 2016? Maybe 2015 if we're talking kind of the Tumblr age, but I wasn't part of that. However, in the late 2010s, that's when kind of the 90s grunge revival started to happen. And at that time, I was in sixth form, so I was having even more control over what I was wearing because I wasn't wearing a school uniform anymore. However, I was still a slave to the skinny jeans and double denim situation, and just overall my style was not where, I mean, it was where it should have been at that time, I think, but considering how insecure I was and how I was constantly shopping at Primark, do you see the correlation here? So I didn't really care a lot, but that all started to change when I hit university. And I think I just want to mention, like, if I still have some pictures of kind of the peak 2010s pieces that I owned from that era, because I think I still have a couple of pictures from when I tried to sell them a few years ago. I have a couple of skater dresses. I was a big fan of the skater dress. In all fairness, if there's one thing from the 2010s that we should be bringing back, it's skater dresses, because I just thought they looked really cool and good, and it was a quite flattering shape. But peplum can die in a hole. So I had two. I had one that was coral, I remember, which is so 2010s, and then the other one, which I absolutely loved, and still to this day I think it's absolutely iconic. I had this bright, like, neon pink skater dress with great big blue flowers all over it, which was just exquisite. And I had that thing from when I was like 14 till about 17 years old. So let's just say it was an iconic piece of clothing that I owned. But yeah, university, wow. I mean, this opened up a whole new world for me because I had absolute full control of what I was buying and what I was wearing for the first time in my life ever, which was incredible because that meant that my love for fashion could come flooding back. However, there were still a couple of problems because, of course, this was still the 2010s, even though it was like 2019 at this point, and I was still exclusively shopping at the high street. The many trips in an evening, like right before the New Look closed in Bolton. Those were the days. And there are still vlogs on my channel from this time, by the way, so if you want kind of the visual evidence of how I was dressing and how I was carrying myself and just my lack of confidence overall, you can go back and you can look at my university playlist, which has all my vlogs from there. But going to university also meant that I was going out for the first time, I was going to clubs, and I was able to, you know, buy a low-cut top and a dress for the first time and, you know, be a little bit scandalous, which compared to how I dress now was absolutely nothing. Because one, I'd been raised on a philosophy of no low cut ever, don't show any inch of skin, absolutely no way. And two, my self-confidence was in the bin. Even though deep down I wanted to dress in a certain way. I just did not have the confidence for it and just was not ready for that. Like overall, I had some complexes that I was yet to work through, and again this all kind of ties down to how low my confidence was at that time. Like it took me so many years to be able to look at myself in a mirror and see an attractive girl, but slowly but surely, you know, I was starting to feel capable of being confident and sexy and feminine. And as soon as you start to believe that that is something you can achieve, that is such a crucial step in your confidence journey, because as soon as you feel that it's possible, that's when the real power begins. Another thing that is really, really important, especially if you're struggling with low confidence and you're starting to, you know, explore your personal style, maybe it's a little bit more feminine, maybe it's a little bit more sexy than perhaps what you have been doing in the past. It is so important to surround yourself with people who are going to hype you up and feel good doing that, which unfortunately I didn't really have at the time. I did to a certain extent, but not in the way that I fully needed. You need people who are not going to feel intimidated by you starting to level up and who are going to support you every step of the way, not just halfway. Because instead, what I was experiencing was feeling overshadowed and belittled and like I was the ugly friend. And I'm sure that there are people out there who can relate to that feeling. It is not nice and it does not help you at all. I should also mention that this is around the time I really discovered my love for Pinterest. Like I got Pinterest back in like 2014 or something, and I was using it for what? Cute cat photos, Minecraft memes, and pictures of Tom Felton as Draco Malfoy. Like all the usual teenager shit, right? But when I was at university, I was really using it as a style resource, and I was also consuming a lot more social media and sort of style content from that. And I started to branch out. You know, I bought my first pair of mom jeans from New Look at the end of my first term, I think. And I remember going to H&M Divided for club looks. But then lockdown hit 2020, which is crazy that was 5 years ago, by the way. Can we all digest that for a minute? But that's when I started to really see the impact of fast fashion. And that's when things kind of really started to shift. I mean, I was starting to experiment more with my makeup. That was mainly thanks to the Jeffree Star X Shane Dawson Conspiracy palette that I'd got like in November of 2019. But in terms of my personal style and just the world of fashion as a whole, things really started to change. Although during lockdown I was more focused on my mental health. As we started to come out of lockdown and towards kind of the end of my university journey, that's when I really started to be a lot more conscious about what I was consuming. Now, my relationship with charity shops and shopping secondhand was it was never trendy to me. It's kind of shameful to say now, but like I always saw it as like a, well, it's only for people who don't have the money for high streets. You know, I had that kind of view of it, which was completely wrong. And you know, now I love charity shops, and now I basically exclusively shop secondhand. And at the beginning of 2022 I went vegan, and I'm still vegan to this day, 3 years down the line, which is crazy to say that was 3 years ago. But that's also when I made the decision to stop shopping as much at high street stores, because I learned about H&M and just kind of the greenwashing that was going on. Not only there, but also at Primark as well. I really learned how bad they were. And that was really thanks to social media and mainly Instagram Reels. And that's kind of what started to really get the ball rolling when it came to me really starting to reflect and embrace my love for fashion again, and also discovering my personal style. And that was also because I was doing a lot of confidence work on myself in terms of my mental health. I was also in a relationship for the first time, which, I mean, I've done a whole series of videos about that. Well, not really a series, I've made a couple of videos about it because it was abusive. So if you want to go over and look at that, then by all means, I'm not going to touch on it a lot in this video, but that did also help my confidence a little bit, as much as it kind of knocked it down towards the end. But I started to really embrace my femininity. And it's also when I cut my hair. If you've not been here, obviously a lot of you will be new here, but I used to have really long hair, and it wasn't curly like it was when I was a kid, but then we decided that it was just straight for some reason, because my parents weren't used to looking after curly hair. I'm like the first in the family to have it, so, and that really helped me as well, was cutting my hair into a style that suited my personality better, which is this, which I've maintained since the summer of 2022. And also learning to love my curls, which has been more of like a self-care thing, but has also really boosted my confidence. And as much as it's not like clothing, obviously, like it's my hair, but you know, it is also part of my personal style. And this is really where my love for thrifting really came in. Vintage is so underrated in a world of Shein and H&M hauls. And I preach this all the time that you should be brave to stand out and take up space, especially as a woman. And really, in my opinion, that only really starts happening once you start shopping more unique pieces like vintage, because I think once you start to realize just how much more creative and unique fashion from the past was and how much better quality it is as well, the world seems a lot brighter. Now we've come to the last part of this video, which, as I say, I am so excited to share this. This is kind of how to get started on your journey, okay? Because I know that if you've never stepped foot in a charity shop before, it can be a little intimidating, especially if you don't really know what you're gonna be trying to look for yet, if you're still trying to work out your personal style. And I will say something controversial. If you find a piece in there that's from some fast fashion brand but you like it, you can buy that. That's okay, because it's secondhand. You're not starting a new loop there, okay? You're giving it a second life. Sometimes we can't help but like the trendy things, okay? So the odd thing, that's okay. But speaking of charity shops, I would say that is probably the best place to start. That and Vinted. Fuck Depop. Go to Vinted. Now, of course, we're in the 2020s and sort of early 2000s style and aesthetic has made a massive comeback, which I know at the end of the 2010s we were scared to death of low-waisted jeans, and I'm literally wearing low-waisted jeans today, so trust me, I was the biggest hater of low-waisted until they came back and I tried them on and was like, why are these the most comfortable jeans I've ever put on my body? Oh dear God, I think I might be a convert. And I've not stopped ever since. But speaking kind of early 2000s and Y2K aesthetic, okay? That will probably be the best place to start when you're trying to find vintage pieces. And I know that the fact that 2000s clothes are now considered vintage is killing a part of our souls if you were born from like 1998 to like 2002. I was born in 2000, so I'm bang in the middle. Trust me, it makes us cry a little. But in a way, you know, we get to re-experience all of the fun stuff that we didn't get to when we were small children, so it is an exciting world. When it comes to finding 2000s vintage, because there's a lot of it in the charity shops at the moment, the one thing you want to look for is old high street labels. When I was talking about kind of how things are much better quality, oh my God, you're gonna find this out with old stuff from the high street. I'm talking Old New Look, Old Next, Old Marks and Spencer, Pilot, Jane Norman, things like that, okay? Even brands, as I say, like Jane Norman and Pilot that don't exist anymore, those are gonna be golden. And the same with Vinted, okay? Look up those old brands. You're gonna find pieces that are so much more unique and creative, and again, so much better quality. Because consumerism and social media just wasn't a thing then. It's magical. And then you want to take it one step up from that if you're looking for the really refined and unique pieces. Vintage stores are the way to go. Now listen, the prices are going to be a little bit more up there, okay? This is why I say more refined, okay? But in terms of denim, and if you're into your leather goods, the best place to go is vintage stores. I also make this point because a lot of the denim we're seeing in charity shops at the moment, at least around me, is all of like the really bad quality skinny jeans and jeggings and things from the 2010s. Unless you want to go on that route, fair enough, I'm not going to judge you, but just so you're aware, that's why I'm recommending for denim you go to vintage stores. Which is a perfect idea for a solo date, by the way, which was the topic of my last video, which was all about how you can get started on your solo dating journey. If you've not taken yourself out yet, if you're feeling a little bit intimidated, that video is gonna be your best friend. But in terms of my vintage stores, now I've only really been thrifting in Manchester. This is technically a lie because I've also been thrifting in London. But in London, like, it's the general places you'd probably think of, especially if you know the area. Camden Market especially, and Brick Lane. But I know that some vintage stores do have sort of chains, like Cow Vintage for instance, which I know has a few locations across the country. I'm going to Leeds at the end of this month, so hopefully I'll be able to go to Cow Leeds, because I've only ever been to the two in Manchester, which are both great, by the way. And another point I'm going to mention as well when it comes to going thrifting in big cities, for instance, is shopping small, because that is also great. You know, shop small business, shop boutiques. Again, it all comes down to your personal tastes, what you're looking for, which will become more refined find as you go along your journey. I would say when it comes to jewelry as well, your best bet is to shop small. Though I have found that some charity shops also stock kind of handmade jewelry and stuff from small businesses. Like the necklace I have on today was handmade by one of the volunteers at the local charity shop to me. And as I said at the beginning of this video, this journey should be fun. This is all about having fun, okay? And not being afraid to take up space, to be loud with your outfits, to, you know, really just embrace who you are. And once you start to, you know, give yourself permission to do that, the confidence will really just flow with that. Now, if you want more advice, tips, you know, that kind of thing from my own personal experience, because trust me, I have a lot of it, then make sure to subscribe to this channel because I have so many ideas for videos planned, especially in this new series that I'm starting. And I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know the sun went away. It's really cloudy outside now, so the lighting is probably looking a little dodgy compared to what it was at the beginning of this video. I am so sorry. That's the perks of living in the UK, I guess. But yeah, I hope you guys found this video helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a comment, like, and subscribe. If any of you have had any similar stories to me in terms of like your fashion journey, make sure to tell your story in the comments. I would love to hear it. If you want even more advice about how to embrace your feminine energy and just your feminine power, then my Instagram is the best place to go for that. And the names for all my social media are, as always, at the end of this video. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. As I say, if you found it helpful, make sure to leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more of my videos. And I will see you guys in the next one. Happy thrifting, good luck on your journey, and make sure to stick around for even more videos like this. I hope you're having a good day. I will see you guys in my next video.